Hey, what's going on? Thanks for coming to the channel. Today, my patient is a 357 Magnum. It's a Taurus. I believe it was made around somewhere in the 80s. It very much resembles it kind of looks like a Colt because it's got these cool ribs, right? But it's kind of looks more like a Smith & Wesson at the rest of it. It's pretty modern because there is the hammer. There's no pin in the hammer, right? It has a separate pin. Actually, this is it right here. That will only engage if your trigger is pulled back. This whole mechanism here. This is actually what this does. Well, I have to flip it over, but this thing comes up here and blocks that. Blah, 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 blah. It isn't about that. This is about the condition of. I did this firearm about I don't know, 7 years ago, 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago, something like that in the order, And I did the whole synthetic oil thing, and I wanted to show a blued gun because a stainless steel gun is right. They're almost guaranteed. And what I got here, you can see the color is I'm using transmission fluid in this case, and I really didn't mention that in the last video that I had made, but the transmission fluid is when you're using and you're doing repairs and you get especially on your rubberized handles, you get a bunch of grease and you just can't seem to get it off, even if you use like lighter fluid or something. Transmission fluid. I remember one time I dropped a screwdriver in a pan of transmission fluid when I was doing some other repair, and when I pulled it out and wiped it off, the thing looked like so new and shiny. It was a rubberized one, with like red and black or whatever. And I was looking at it, I was like, oh my God, I couldn't believe how clean it was. And so I didn't hear from somebody saying, use this to clean this. I just one day I came across, and now, if you want to get your tools like absolutely completely clean, man, especially like automotive with grease and stuff, transmission fluid is the way to go. So last time I did this gun, I used moly grease, and I will not do that again. The reason is because there's particulate in there. Now that gets back to the reason that I have this apart, which is this firearm has this mechanism here, which is to release the cylinder release mechanism. I don't know. You push that forward under normal conditions. This is spring loaded backwards. You push this forward, and then the cylinder falls out, right? What happened is even after lubing this gun and actually sort of drenching in it and letting oil come all the way through, where it was dripping out the other side, actually that was done with this. Because who wants to take this all apart, right? I mean, take off the side, maybe just it's like a cheap way to clean, right? You take off the side plate, wherever the hell that is, it's over there. And then instead of taking things apart, what you can do, you remove the wood and anything like that, and you could just drench this thing with your favorite synthetic oil or transmission fluid. I will follow up, like when I lube this, I won't lube it with transmission fluid. I'm not going to worry about cleaning all of it off, but I would lube it the same way as the other video with just, and I'll show you how I do that, because I use grease at the same time to hold it in place. All right, anyway, what happened with this firearm? So there's a lot of talk when like a lot of people are showing off their firearms, talk about fit and finish and how at the factory and tool marks and all this kind of stuff, right? But what happened in this case is you could see, right? If you cut a hole through a steel, you're going to have burrs around the edges. And I do believe they dealt with their burrs around the edges, but not completely. If you look close, right, you'll see this sort of shiny spot right there, and then it's black, and then another shiny spot. Now, this is fine that it's worn here. You would expect it, right? This piece sits here. You'd expect that to be worn. But the thing is that how it's unevenly worn, and that little like crescent moon like going around the edge, that indicates that there was and I could still feel it a little bit, especially with your fingernail. Definitely, right? That there's a burr there, and it wore over time. So now it's shiny. And I did kind of, give it this sort of I have diamond files. I can go in here and start, but I really don't want to mess around because it is a nice tight finish. And I really don't want to play games with this. But what was happening is I believe after time, this thing built up like tooling dust, metal, like how you would find in a transmission on the Magnum, for example, right? Except there's nothing there really to wash it away. And so I was cleaning with my, all my magic tricks of cleaning and the brushes and everything, and finally really it wouldn't clean until I took a metal, and started just giving this a real hard, and it came right, of course it comes right off, right? Because it's just caked up in there. And I was like, oh. And then, of course, when you find something, right, when you're working to try to resolve something, when you find a positive problem, it's very satisfying because you're like, okay, that's it. That was what the cause was. And now this will sit flat on here. And I am not going to work this. I'm going to leave... I don't know. I guess you could run a Dremel with some polishing compound, but I am really conservative on trying to mess around with this, right? So anyway, just to give you an example of how I plan to put this back together. Well, I'm going to call in this guy. No. So basically, the way that I do my synthetic oil deal here is, let me find... this is good. So the first thing I'll do is I'll get my pick tool, and I'm going to come over here. Now I'm going to grab some red grease, not moly grease. The moly grease had particulates in it. I don't want particulates of any kind. I want anything that's in here to wash out, right? So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to come in here and just kind of get some of this grease, because I know the grease really doesn't want to move, right? The grease is, I guess I could overdo it a little bit because I could always wipe it off, right? And now I've already picked around, scraped around the inside here for what I just showed you. So you take that, and now, of course, using the grease helps you to, this is not even magnetic, right? So using grease helps you to grab things too. Just as good as a magnet on these small parts. Get my spring centered here. And then this is the actual part that engages to, well, you can't really see that, can you? This is the part that engages to release the cylinder. So I'm going to treat this a little bit. Well, just a little bit. Also I was scraping around all of these little areas. Now I'm going to put Loctite in the screw here, so I'm not going to put any grease in there. Okay, just a little bit. And then I have my synthetic oil bottle. And what I will do is I will synthetic oilize the area. Putting a drop here, a drop there. I'll put some synthetic oil. Now what I'm doing is just kind of mixing it in, right? So I have this sort of mishmash, this sort of synthetic oil mishmash of oil and grease wanting to sort of not really go anywhere. So how does this go in? I don't know. Anybody remember how this goes in? I should probably use a nicer tool than my fingers. So we have to grab that spring. There we go. Make sure it doesn't fly out. This, where's the hole? Okay, there it is. All right. So before I start getting crazy and exercising this, all right, so here's the spring in place. Oops. See? That's what happens when you play around too much. It came out. So I'm going to flip this over. I am going to not worry so much about this area, but just a little tiny bit. secure. See, I need to secure this before it falls apart. Let me stick this on here. And I'm gonna Loctite this, but for now I will, just because I can pull it apart when the gun's together. Make sure I'm not cross-threading or doing anything insane like that. Always take it easy when you're threading. Okay, that's good. Let me get that in there. Never use power tools on this. Alright. So now, right. That's it. And this, I have to be careful here. Now this thing sort of, now I gotta lift the trigger a little bit without things flying apart. Can I do that? Oh, okay. I needed to pull this over this nub here. Right, there we go, there we go. Now you can go back together. Because it went over there. And that's what happens. This thing, the hammer hits, can you see that? When the hammer hits, it can't actually reach that. But when you pull the trigger, this will come up and the hammer will hit the pin. And the pin will come out. So this little mechanism makes sure that when the hammer comes down, here, let's see how it works, right? If I take the hammer, and it goes in here in a very specific way. I'm not really putting it together. I'm going to take it apart again. Oops, I missed my thing. I missed it. I screwed up. There we go. Right, now see what happens. The hammer will come down. See that? I got the phone over here ringing. I don't really want to be dealing with that at the moment. But if this little extra piece here stops the hammer from actually hitting that thing, right? So if this is all broken and this hammer just comes down, it can't hit the pin. Is it dark? It's too dark, right? When the hammer comes down, it'll hit that and then push the pin forward. If the trigger is not pulled, there's no way the hammer can push the pin. See that? Boom, pushing the pin through. So let's open it up. Let's see. Right. So if I pull the trigger, the hammer comes down, hits, see, and then it hits the pin. Pin comes out, fires the gun. But if the trigger's not there, right? If the trigger is not all the way forward, it can't hit the pin. You see that? That's a safety mechanism. Anyway, I think I'm gonna go have myself a drink. Anyway, so what I'm saying is the synthetic oil stuff, man. I don't know. People ask me, does it stay? Does it stick? Does it preserve? Does it work? Yeah, it does. It does, man. In my experience, I'm not moving away from it. I don't have any specific gun crap oil, nothing around here. I know. Oh, you're supposed to use the special. No, I'm not. You're supposed to use the special thing. I'm just supposed to be special. I don't know. Whatever. You know what I'm saying. Anyway, so there's my synthetic oil thing. Put this bad boy back together. And we'll be rocking and rolling, man, for another freaking... This will outlive me, period. There you go. All right. So thanks for coming by. Thanks for watching. Sorry it's been such a long time since I made a firearm video. You know, some people freak out about that stuff, you know. You and I, we have these things. They're just things, right? You know, it's a poor ceramic toilet out there in the junkyard. Doesn't have a chance when we come around. And we love animals and all that kind of stuff, right? All right, anyway, let me get out of here and, you know, have a great day. And did I say, well, hey, how many times is it really about, could I say have a great day another time? And would that be offensive? I don't think so, right? Anyway, I appreciate you coming by and watching and, you know, just having a little bit of fun here, you know? All right, until next time.